When I was a little girl, about 5 years of age, I suddenly developed terrible itchy rashes all over my body. The reason I got these rashes is because a virus called varicella zoster had invaded my body and given me the dreaded chickenpox. Luckily, I managed to recover from this illness in a few weeks' time. And guess what? Until this day, I haven't got chickenpox again. Turns out it's not just me, but a vast majority of people who do get chickenpox at some point in their life and recover from it don't really experience it for the second time, except for very few people like this guy over here. But since that's extremely rare, let's not worry about it for now. The question that I have here for us is what exactly could have happened in our bodies the first time we get an infection that protects us and prevents us from getting the same disease the second time? The answer to this question lies in a genius ability of our immune system known as immunological memory. Now, this feature enables our bodies to literally remember every encounter it has had with a foreign antigen in the past. Now, immunological memory is brought about by two types of WBCs, the B lymphocytes and the T lymphocytes. In this video, my focus is mostly going to be on the B lymphocytes, which are my most favorite type of WBCs. I'd like to think of B lymphocytes as warriors. Similar to how warriors make use of weapons like swords and arrows to kill their opponents, the B lymphocytes make use of Y-shaped proteins that are known as antibodies in order to destroy the invading pathogens. Let's learn a little bit more about the adventures of B lymphocytes starting from their birth. Like all blood cells, the B lymphocytes too are formed in the bone marrow by a process known as hematopoiesis. After hematopoiesis, the B lymphocytes that are formed are immature and are called progenitor B cells. These progenitor B cells will further undergo maturation in the bone marrow itself to form the mature B cells. Each mature B cell, as you can see in this illustration, will produce 100,000 antibodies on their surface. I've drawn only a couple of them here, but every B cell will produce as many as 100,000 antibodies on their surface. And all of them are Y-shaped. Here is an enlarged diagram of an antibody. So the antibody, as you can see, is Y-shaped and it has a stalk which is called the Fc region, and it has two arms that are known as the Fab region. Okay, the function of the antibodies is to bind to foreign antigens. Now you might ask me what foreign antigens are. Foreign antigens are molecular structures that are found on the surface of invading pathogens such as viruses and bacteria. For example, I've drawn a bacterium here, and on its surface there is a triangular antigen which is the foreign antigen. And there are specific regions in the antibody at which it binds to the foreign antigen. Now these regions are referred to as the antigen binding sites. In order for an antibody to successfully bind to an antigen, the antibody has to fit with the foreign antigen like a lock and key. For example, in this image, I have made the antigen binding site V-shaped. So for this antibody to bind to an antigen, the antigen has to be somewhat triangular. Otherwise, it will not be able to bind to it. So one thing is that any antibody will not be able to bind to any antigen. Unless they fit with each other like a lock and key, binding is not possible. Another fascinating thing about B lymphocytes is that every mature B lymphocyte or B cell that is matured in the bone marrow will produce antibodies that have identical antigen binding sites. Now this B cell that I'm going to label B cell 1 produces 100,000 antibodies, and all of them will have the antigen binding sites that are V-shaped. When you consider this other cell, which I'm going to call B cell 2, all of the 100,000 antibodies that are produced by this B cell 2 is going to have antigen binding sites that are U-shaped. Okay, so all of the antibodies that are produced by one particular B cell will have identical antigen binding sites. Nextly, no two B cells that have matured in the bone marrow will produce antibodies that have identical antigen binding sites, which means that no other B cell apart from this one will be able to produce an antibody of this type. So every antibody is unique to that type of B cell. Okay? So after the maturation, the B cells will migrate from the bone marrow via the bloodstream into the secondary lymphoid organs like the lymph nodes and the spleen. For as long as these mature B lymphocytes do not find any suitable antigen that they can bind to, they just rest in these secondary lymphoid organs. In the lymph, in these secondary lymphoid organs, lymph constantly keeps getting filtered. So as the lymph is getting filtered over here, if the lymph is carrying any foreign antigen, that gets retained, that will be retained within these secondary lymphoid organs. So within the secondary lymphoid organs, we have mature B cells. Within the secondary lymphoid organs, you also have foreign antigens. Okay, so the mature B cells that are in resting in the bone in the secondary lymphoid organs, for as long as they do not find any suitable antigen, there's just going to be one such type of B cell, and such cells are referred to as the naive B cells. And naive B cells are constantly exposed to a variety of foreign antigens. Now let's say there is a naive B cell that is present in one of the lymph nodes in our body that encounters a bacterium that has a surface antigen to which this antibody can bind. After this antibody binds to this foreign antigen, it receives certain other signals from other WBC cells, and as a result, this naive B cell now becomes activated. Now, this activated B cell has a very important mission to accomplish. It is the job of this single activated B cell to ensure that every bacterium of this type found in any part of the body has to be destroyed. And this activated B cell ensures or accomplishes that mission by starting to make many copies of itself. So until this activation, there was just one type of that B cell, which was called the naive B cell. Now after activation, in a mission to destroy every bacterium of this particular type, it's going to make more copies of itself by a process known as clonal expansion. Now after clonal expansion, two different types of B cells will be produced. One type of B cell is known as the plasma cell, and the other type of B cell is referred to as the memory B cell. It is the job of the plasma cell to ensure that every bacterium of this type is destroyed. In order to achieve that, this plasma cell will start producing antibodies of this type within itself. It will start producing these antibodies, and instead of exhibiting it on its surface, it will secrete these antibodies into the bloodstream. Because these plasma cells secrete these antibodies that have the same specificity as this activated B cell into the blood plasma, they are referred to as the plasma cells. Now, blood is something that gets circulated throughout the body, right? So, everywhere blood gets circulated, these antibodies will travel along with the blood. And if in any other part of the body, the antibodies will encounter the same foreign antigen, what they do is they will immediately bind to it. So they will bind to it like this. Now after the antibody, plasma antibody has bound to a foreign antigen, it will tag this particular bacterium. It will tag it for destruction. So how exactly do these bacteria get destroyed now? I'm sure you remember from the previous videos that there are phagocytic WBCs known as neutrophils and macrophages. These neutrophils and macrophages are phagocytic cells, and on their surface you can find receptors for the Fc region of the antibody. So the stalk region is known as the Fc region, and within the plasma membrane of these phagocytic cells, there are receptors present for this region. So when these uh, Fc region of the antibody binds to these receptors here, the macrophages or the neutrophils, the phagocytic cells, will produce pseudopodia around these bacterial cells and then eventually engulf it and destroy it. In that way, every bacterium of this type that is found in any part of the body will be destroyed. Okay, so now let's talk about the function of the memory B cells. The memory B cells have a very long lifespan. They are believed to keep circulating in the bloodstream even for decades after the first infection. Some memory B cells are found circulating in the bloodstream even after 60 years after the person has been infected first. So these memory B cells, if at all the person is infected by the same type of bacterium again after recovering from the first infection, if these memory B cells are still present, then what they do is they will get activated similar to the activation of naive B cells. Okay, so let's say the person who has got this particular bacterial infection has recovered from it because of the action of plasma cells. Now, after several years, the same person is exposed to the same bacterium with the same foreign antigen. We already have memory B cells circulating in our bloodstream. Now, these memory B cells will start undergoing clonal expansion, and they will again differentiate to produce the plasma cells which will perform the exact same function and release the antibodies of that particular type into the blood plasma. So this is called the secondary response. The first time our body deals with a newly encountered pathogen is the primary response, and the second time our body deals with the exact same pathogen, that is considered as the secondary response. The reason why the first time we show some symptoms of the disease is because there are very few B cells that might exist with receptors that are able to recognize the foreign antigen. Okay, so therefore there will only be a few cells that can mount an immune response, and by the time clonal expansion takes place and antibodies start getting produced, some symptoms of the disease will be shown, because this clonal expansion and production of antibodies will take several days to occur. That is not the case in the secondary response, because the activation of memory B cells happens much rapidly compared to the activation of naive B cells. And in a way, our body is prepared because it has numerous circulating memory B cells. Okay, so the secondary response initiates as well as peaks much more rapidly than a primary response, and thereby it stops the infection even before the disease symptoms are detected. In that way, we do not get a disease for the second time.